Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. Welcome back. And for those who just attended, welcome to our Divine Indonesia Pavilion. On this session, we're going to discuss our concern, of course, about our ocean and the blue economy. As blue economy is a critical engine of future economic growth and an integral part of Indonesia's economic transformation for Indonesia Vision of 2045. So on this session, our speakers will showcase you the sustainable use of a coastal and marine ecosystem of Indonesia as part of its ocean governance, and also to discuss challenges and opportunities for implementing blue economy in national and global scale, as well as to explore potential collaboration on accelerating and improving the implementation of Indonesia's blue economy. So this session is a high-level panel to discuss about ocean by embodiment blue economy through a sustainable use of coastal and marine resources to save the ocean environment. So to begin with, let's put our hands together. I'll make sure I'll get it right this time. Pak Victor, my apology for misaddressing you yesterday. Please put our hands together for Director General for Marine and Spatial Management from the Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries, Republic of Indonesia, Bapak Dirjen Victor Gustav Manopo.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Distinguished guys, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you all. It's my privilege for me to join you at this precious session on this event on behalf of the Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries, Republic of Indonesia. As center of biodiversity, the ocean provides the wealth of resources. However, we face complex sustainability challenges such as climate change, environment degradation, and ecosystem sustainability. Nevertheless, there are many challenges to achieving in ensuring that protecting the ocean will provide positive impact on the environment and socio-economy. Ladies and gentlemen, in line with the Indonesia Blue Economy Roadmap established by the Ministry of National Development Planning, Republic of Indonesia, the Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries implement the strategy for achieving for the blue economy through 5 priority programs. The 30% of marine protected area will support recovery of fish stock, CO2 absorbing, and produce oxygen for our life. Complementing the protection effort, the reduction of pressure from the fisheries will apply through quota-based fishing and increasing aquaculture production. The integrity of marine and coastal ecosystems is maintained through the control of marine space use and plastic waste pollution management through the fishermen's participation. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guys, it's important to have robust and reliable governance and marine space management tools. It must be able to monitor and measure ecological quality and integrity to support sustainable ocean economy. In response to these challenges, the Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries is currently developing 2 key tools. The first is ocean big data, and the second is the ocean accounting. Ocean big data will be developed using devices based on coastal, marine, and aerial technologies, and ocean accounting will calculate the impact of each marine space utilization permit on the condition, quality, and function of marine ecology in mid and long term. Ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia challenge to meet the global target is a common challenge for all nations. Indonesia will not able to safeguard our ocean alone. Meanwhile, we know that goods and services from Indonesia Sea benefit global community, which also require an international contribution. Therefore, we need to collaborate and synergy with other country efforts. I thank you.
Thank you, Pak Dirjen Victor, for the keynote. So to begin the discussion, I would kindly invite the Deputy Coordinating Minister for Maritime Resources, Pak Firman Hidayat, who's going to lead the session. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. So first of all, I would like to welcome all the distinguished guests, distinguished delegates and speakers to our afternoon sessions. We will be discussing about Indonesia's blue economy. As you probably already know, Indonesia is the largest archipelagic country in the world. So we have the second longest coastline, and we have more than 70% of our area is oceans. We have many marine biodiversities, resources such as seaweed, mangrove, seagrass, coral reefs, and also ocean renewable energy, for example. You name it, we have it all, right? But not only important for providing resources, ocean is also important for the climate. I think 2 days ago, we have an event with the World Economic Forum that described perfectly the relationship between oceans and the climate change. No Paris without the oceans. So the ocean is the largest carbon sink in the world. So the oceans absorb 50 to 80% of the CO2 that produced by human, and also absorb the 90% of the excess heat in the world. So oceans also produce more than 70% of the oxygen in the world. So the role of ocean is very, really important in terms of the climate change. However, although we know the importance of the oceans, ocean is often neglected. For example, SDG 14. So SDG 14 is the least, received the least amount of funding in compared to other SDGs. I'll give you another example in Indonesian case. So if we look at the investment realizations, the sector of marine and fisheries ranks dead last in terms of investment realization in Indonesia. I'll give you another example. So we calculate the GDP maritime, for examples. In the past 5 years, the GDP maritime always grew lower than the national average, which means the non-maritime GDP, non-maritime sectors grew much faster. And if you look at the poverty numbers, so we have a lot of people living in the coastal area, and they are much, much poorer compared to the average people. And unfortunately, if you look at our NDC, the contribution from ocean is still very, very limited, right? So we need to change this. And fortunately, I think Indonesia is making a lot of progress, and we hope we will showcase to you the progress that we made in Indonesia in terms of the blue economy. So now I will invite all the speakers. So we have complete speakers, I have to say, representing different stakeholders. So for the first speakers, I will invite Ibu Vivi from Bappenas, representing the governments. Ibu Vivi. So Ibu Vivi is the Deputy for Natural Resources from Ministry of Planning, National Development Agency of Bappenas. Yeah. And for the next speakers, I will also invite Ibu Mezani. Ibu Mezani from Konservasi Indonesia, representing the NGO. So for the next speakers, I will invite Alfredo Giron, head of the World Economic Forum Oceans. So he will be representing the international partners in terms of the oceans. For the next speaker is I'll invite Pak Yoki, the President Director of Pertamina International Shipping, representing the state-owned enterprise perspective of the oceans. And last but not least, I will invite Pak Agus. Pak Agus is the CEO of C6 Energy, one of the innovations in terms of oceans, working right now on the large-scale seaweed farming using mechanisms and technology. So for the first speakers, I will invite Ibu Vivi.
Oh, okay.
Ibu Vivi, I know that Bappenas just launched the Indonesia Blue Economic Roadmap, and Bappenas is currently preparing for the next medium-term plan, which maritime sector is going to play an integral part in that planning. So I hope that you can share some of it with the audience. Thank you. Time is yours, Bu Vivi.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pak Firman. Very good afternoon to everybody. It's really been an honor and pleasure to talk in this very important event. For Indonesia, the blue economy is actually a new opportunity for us for a new source of growth. We aim that by 2045, when the Indonesia celebrating 100 years of independence, we're gonna be part of the advanced economy. So that's why in the next 20 years, the blue economy would be a new source of growth for us. I will give some context. In this first slide, we are talking about that the marine ecosystems development would be benefiting us in terms of the economic growth as well as the community welfare. So we have to talk as well as develop the interlinkages between the people, planet, as well as the prosperity. So if there is a change in the natural resources, say it in the coral, reefs, the mangrove, as well as the fish, for sure it will eventually result to the loss of the job as well as the incomes of the people. So that's why for the countries like Indonesia, like Pak Firman already mentioned, we are the biggest archipelagic as well as the second longest coastal lines. It is really super important for Indonesia to start improve as well as develop the marine ecosystem. That's why part of the 2045 visions, we developed the blue economy framework as part of the Indonesia economic transformations. So the main target is not only conserve, but also expand the marine environment area, the protected area, up until 30% of the total of the waters. So it's around almost 100 hectares. And then we also aims that the share of the maritime GDP would be 15%, 15%, compared to the current one, only 6%. And lastly, for the employment, it's going to be 12% of the employment share. And of course, the missions, not only through the blue health in terms of conserve, but also promoting the sustainable economic growth through the marine, and then improving the human health, well-being, and the welfare, and of course creating the enabling environment through the strategies of the uplifting as well as the emerging sectors that I mentioned earlier. So here are the phases in the starting this year to up and to the 2 years later. We are talking about consolidating and coordinating for the ecosystem. And then the 2025, 2029, which is along the line with the SDGs, the goal 14 particularly, we are talking about the increasing the value added and also the sectors, the emerging as well as the traditional, the uplifting, the traditional one. And then the next phase is about the emerging sectors. This is based on the knowledge-led, of course, the innovations as well as the research would be the lead. And then the next phase is about improving the quality of supply chain. And lastly, focusing on the establishment of the sectors to be part of the global supply chains. Here are the two sectors. The first is about uplifting the uplifting the traditional sectors, including the maritime capture, fisheries and aquacultures, marine-based manufacturers, and then the logistics, yeah. and then the marine tourism because we are island. And of course promoting the emerging sectors, including the renewable energy. We are talking about the seabed mining as well. There is the Pertamina, we'll talk more about that. And then the biotech and the bioprospecting, research and innovation, and of course the marine conservations. So based on the Blue Economy Framework, we are already developed the Blue Economy Action Plan as well as the Blue Economy Index to measure the progress. And then of course, working together with all of the sectors and the local government, we are gonna move to create the value added as well as the value chain of it. And we do hope that this roadmap will serve of the reference for all of us to really develop our Indonesia's achievement toward Golden Indonesia by 2045. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ibu Vivi. So the next speaker, I will invite Ibu Mezani. So Konservasi Indonesia has many close collaborations with the Indonesian government, and one of which is the Blue Halo S initiative. So we hope that this Blue Halo S initiative can be a model for the world, how we can balance between the production and conservations and finance it in a sustainable way. So Bu Mezani can share a bit about this Blue Halo S initiative. Bu Mezani, time is yours.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Deputy Firman, Director General Victor, and Bu Vivi. We are very happy to be here today. And first of all, I would like to applaud the Indonesian government, who is a very strong leader in this sector, really pushing the boundaries around the nexus between climate, biodiversity, and ocean into the agenda. And I think we can see that from the talks from Pak Dirjen, Pak Deputy, and as well as Bu Vivi. We can see that in Indonesia, there is a lot of development challenges that we're facing because we are a growing economy. And as Bu Vivi mentioned before, the contribution of the blue economy sector in Indonesia to the GDP is still low. And this is mostly in the fishery sector. And to target to be 12 to 15% by 2045, the simulation that is shown with the Indonesian government and its partners also shows that in order to achieve this growth for the GDP, it also depends on the health of the ecosystem or the quality of the ecosystem itself. You can see that with the scenario of natural resources degradation between the rate of 0% to 3% per year, this will really affect the average annual investment that Indonesia needs to make for the future. So if the target is 12.5, with the degradation scenario of 0%, the average annual investment will be around 124 billion. But with this, will jump up by a lot, by 213 billion a year if the scenario of resource degradation is at the rate as it is today, which is about 3%. But this is encompassing not just degradation of ocean resources, but in general. This is the data we gather also from World Bank. So this will really affect the development agenda. So this is important to see. That's why with Indonesia, actually, one of the key aspects of the integration, as Pak Dirjen mentioned, is very integrated and very holistic. It really looks at not just the development, but how do we conserve the natural resources that we have. So this is very important. And the next question is that the commitment and the strategy is there. The next phase is how can we support as development partners in Indonesia, and how can we bring others also to support the development agenda in Indonesia. One of the key programs that we have in Indonesia, as Pak Deputy mentioned, is the Blue Halo S. So really, if we think about it, the blue refers to the ecosystem itself, the important ecosystems. We have the largest coral reef ecosystems in the world. We also have the largest mangrove and seagrass. This is the ecosystem that creates the main health, and it also creates the enabling conditions for economic or blue economy production like fisheries, tourism, and others to thrive as well. So without these essential ecosystems and habitat, these other systems that will need to be used for production is hard to actually extract, right? So the blue refers to the ecosystem itself, and the halo is actually inspired with this spillover effect. So this is a known technology that if you protect nature, you will get ecosystem service, whether it's healthy air, clean water, or other resources like soil that can grow your crops, or coral reef that can be the spawning ground for fish we eat. Because in Indonesia, 54% of the protein intake is from fish. So this is an important scenario. So the halo is the spillover effect that comes from protecting the blue. And the S is really referring to sustainable management of these areas and sustainable financing. And also it also be inspired by the system, the indigenous system in the eastern Indonesia called SASI. So in this scenario, what we try to do together with the Indonesian government and the Green Climate Fund is really to design a holistic approach. So Bu Vivi Bu Deputy mentioned that in order to do the blue economy, we have to look at financing also the conservation. And Indonesia is increasing from 10% commitment of protection of ocean to 30%. That requires a big jump in the investment we need. So that requires grant funding and enabling condition. But the grant funding is also going to be built not only for conservation efforts, but also for research, for the blue economy, as well as support for the local fishers. We have a very large number, about 12 million fishers in Indonesia at the moment. And the other piece is the transformation. Pak Dirjen was mentioning that one of Indonesia's key target is to have the quota-based fisheries. That is a very innovative and also very challenging because Indonesia has a lot of water. So really, how do we help to support and mobilize some of the funding for the transformation of sustainable fisheries as well? This will go in through both the enabling conditions, but also through a blue financing. Or a blue bond that is being also discussed and designed in Indonesia. So with this facility that was launched by the coordinating ministry and the Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries last year at the G20 presidency in Indonesia, this will mobilize the first phase around $300 million for Indonesia and will be piloted the first time in Indonesia. We have 11 fishing management areas or WPP. This will be piloted in the area here, so in the western of Indian Ocean. So we hope that these two scenarios or these two facilities, both the grant and the blue bond facility, is a way for Indonesia to be able to jumpstart its investment for sustainable conservation as well as production, but it also will generate income both in the conservation area and also the fisheries area. So then that could be creating a feedback loop in the future and will be self-sustaining in the future. So the less reliant on external funding and being able to actually produce revenue models within Indonesia itself. And hopefully this could be an inspiring model for not just other fisheries management area in Indonesia, but also worldwide. So I am happy to say also Green Climate Fund, because of the discussion, because of this design last year, have yesterday in the COP, discussed around Blue Coal facility as well for the Caribbean for 12 countries. This is also very much inspired by the work from Indonesia. So I think we have to applaud the Indonesian government for its leadership on this sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Mezani. So for the next speaker, I will invite Alfredo Giron, so from the World Economic Forum. Yes. So together with the World Economic Forum, Indonesia launched Ocean 20 last year in G20 Forum in Bali. But we also have a lot of partnerships in blue carbon and also in plastics. Yeah. So last night I attend 1,000 Ocean Startup event with the World Economic Forum. And I think Alfredo will talk about the role of business and entrepreneurships to develop this sustainable blue economy. Alfredo, time is yours.
Thank you very much, Pak Firman, and thank you everyone for coming today. Before I get started with the presentation on entrepreneurship and business, I really want to recognize that 2 days ago, we also signed a partnership with the coordinating ministry to develop the National Blue Carbon Action Partnership. And really, that is an effort to bring together many of the efforts that are happening in the country. It's not to create additional work streams. It's more how do we develop the capacity to bring together all the pieces that are happening already to create a way forward, and for us as international partners to support in bringing that international investment, not only for carbon markets, because that is something that will be decided when the time comes, but also to think about these ecosystems as providing services for livelihoods, for coastal protection, for others. And there's a big role for the private sector and for entrepreneurs to play on this as well. So I just want to start with that. Thank you very much to the coordinating ministry, and thank you very much to all of the other representatives of the ministries that have been supportive of the process. And finally, thank you very much to Meisani and Conservasi Indonesia for your support in making sure that this initiative actually makes sense for the context in Indonesia. Thank you so much for that. So for today's presentation, I will just do a very quick introduction to the global ocean economy. I think it is worth for us to think about this as a global economy. $2.5 trillion a year is what is generated from ocean activities. This represents 3% of the global GDP, which doesn't sound like that much, but it actually is. But it is still very far away from the 75% that the ocean represents from the surface of the planet. But the good news is that this is growing, and we will see this number increasing in coming years. The second number that I want to mention is that 80% of global trade by volume is carried by sea. And this is such an important figure because when we are out there, especially in international arenas like here at the UNFCCC, there's a lot of landlocked countries that ask us, why do I care about the ocean? Because traditionally, they have not associated trading to ocean activities. They need the ocean. They need the ocean to be healthy for us to be able to manage it properly so that international trade can happen. And finally, accounting for all the activities, the ocean is the world's 7th largest economy. If we were to consider it a country, it will be the 7th largest one. So very important for everyone to consider it. And one thing that I want to highlight today is that the government of Indonesia recognizes this and champions this very hard. An example of this is the launching of the O20, the Ocean 20, as part of the G20 during their presidency, during your presidency, in 2022. Here you have a photo of Minister Luhut, Professor Schwab, from the chairman from the World Economic Forum, Ambassador Peter Thompson, and Ray Dalio, who actually was our host yesterday night on that innovation event. Indonesia has not only recognized the role that the ocean plays internally, but also the role that it plays internationally. And this is a big milestone, putting it at the forefront of the agenda of the 20th largest, most powerful economies in the world. Good news is, India, as many of you might know, this year took the Ocean 20 and took it even one step forward. It was included in the Leaders' Declaration for the G20. Brazil is preparing for their presidency next year, and we have news that they are going to make it an official engagement group. So something that Indonesia started is now getting this real momentum and real perpetuity in the G20 process. So congratulations to Indonesia for this. Thank you so much for giving this to the world. So getting into how do we support business in realizing these opportunities that are presented by the G20, by the O20 and other areas, I will highlight two very quick things. The first one is accelerating sustainable transitions of ocean-based industries. And Ibu Fifi already highlighted for us that Blue Economy Roadmap that talks about both emerging and established sectors. This will be very important. The second thing is, this is not only going to happen magically. We need the technology, we need the social innovation for it to be able to be allowed. So just to give you some figures about Southeast Asia, of course, again, Indonesia leading the way with the ASEAN Blue Economy Framework. This is talking about the role of both established sectors in which 90% of aquaculture in Asia, 55% of captured fisheries, 60% of global maritime trade, 9 out of 10 of the busiest ports, these sectors are already established in the region, and the region is a leader. But what about the emerging ones? Shipping decarbonization, there's a lot of efforts that are going in there. Seaweed cultivation for biofuel, for plastics, for so many other things. We will hear from C6 in a moment. Offshore renewables, let's face it, this is shifting the leadership from Europe to Asia. It's happening, and it's going to continue happening. And Indonesia, of course, has an opportunity to play a role in this. And finally, marine biotechnology. With the High Seas Treaty and with a couple of other things, there's also an opportunity to go into that. But in order to realize this opportunity, businesses need to do 3 things. They need to understand their relationships with nature. They need to commit to how they are going to reduce their impacts. And then they have to transition their operations. And at the World Economic Forum, we are ready to help doing that. And we are ready also to support governments in how to orient your private sector in doing those transitions. So just almost to finish, I want to say that this is not going to happen by itself. We need innovation. We need leaders, entrepreneurs that are doing this. We have so many good solutions: satellite technologies, seaweed technologies, aquaculture and virtual reality and artificial intelligence, drones planting mangroves, autonomous vehicles mapping the deep sea. It seems like basically for every sustainability challenge that we have in the world, especially ocean challenges, we already have at least one very brilliant innovator doing work on this. Our job from here, the job of the private sector, the job of the international community, and the job of the government is to help them reach a scale. How can we help them change the world with the innovations that they already have in place? And this is just a slide. I'm not going to go through all of it, but they need funding, exposure, cohesion, credibility, access to opportunities and policymakers so that they can make that happen. And just to give you an example of what Pak Firman was talking earlier today, yesterday we hosted this event in which we have a coalition that we are trying to accelerate 1,000 ocean startups by 2030. We invite you to participate on this. We are currently at 330. This is year 3, so we are on track. And we want to get to $5 billion invested in these innovations over the next 3 to 4 years. So we invite you all to participate in this. Ocean innovation needs a lot of support, but it also brings a lot of solutions. And I think that it's just through partnerships that we will be able to achieve this. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Alfredo. So Alfredo mentioned that business need to take actions. And fortunately, we have 2 representatives from the business sectors, one from the SOEs, Pak Yoki and Pak Agus from the private sectors. So I invite Pak Yoki first to talk about the actions that have been done by Pertamina Shipping, ya Pak. Bu Nicole told me that Pertamina has like 600 ships that distributes fuel across Indonesia. And there is one study from, there is a study stated that Indonesia can mitigate 2.1 to 2.8 metric ton CO2 equivalent per year by 2030 if we decarbonize the domestic maritime transport. So if we can also decarbonize the international shipping and ports, we could mitigate more than 10 metric ton CO2 equivalent per year. So I think the role of Pertamina Shipping is very, very big, Pak, in this area. So I hope you can share some of the experience that has been taken by the Pertamina, Pak. Time is yours, Pak.
Thank you so much, Pak Firman, fellow speakers and distinguished guests. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Before explaining what we do to decarbonize our business, our operation, I'd like to explain from the global shipping context on decarbonization. Annually, shipping sectors produce about 1,000 megaton of CO2, which equal to 3% of global emission worldwide. And this number is expected to increase by 50% by 2050 without any action taken, definitely. And that's why the Maritime Organization, the IMO, already set greenhouse gas strategy in 2023, the latest one, to reduce at least 70% of total emission in 2050, which equal to 1,000 megaton of CO2, right? And based on the latest study that the emission can be reduced, 1/3 of the emission can be reduced through efficiency initiatives, while the remaining two-thirds of emission require support from the availability of low carbon fuel mix. So, which is the challenge for the maritime sectors. For Pertamina International Shipping, the situation would be about similar. Annually, Pertamina International Shipping produce about 1.9, the latest number in 2022, we produce 1.9 million megaton of CO2. And we've been able to reduce by 9% in 2022, thanks to all the initiatives taken by us, particularly in saving the fuels, make some more efficiency initiative in our operation, for instance, like limit the speed of the ships, try to clean the hull regularly, and make some modification on the design of the ships. And definitely the other initiatives, for instance, like the application of B13 in Indonesia would also help us to reduce the emission in our operation in Indonesia. But again, as I said, two-thirds of, and Pertamina International Shipping already set the net zero emission pathway in 2060, where, as I said, two-thirds of the contributors to the emission reduction will be on the fuel that we will use going forward. And I know there will be 4 key levers and allow us to achieve these goals, particularly how we can apply low carbon or zero carbon type of fuels in the future. First, definitely we need a clear regulation, particularly for the domestic operation of shipping. And we know that it has been a concern by all the key stakeholders in Indonesia. But I think consistency in the application of new type of fuel going forward will be really important. And secondly, we know that technology advancements is really important in allowing players in the shipping sectors to decarbonize. Currently, the dual fuel type of ships being built globally, 60% is gas fuel, LNG or LPG fuel. And the remaining 40% are built based on the biofuel. We haven't seen significant technological development on new type of fuel, for instance, like ammonia and hydrogen, to support the maritime industry in the future. And the third one is we require the mobilization and the financial sector, because we know the new ships, new technology ships require higher capex compared to the conventional type of ships. And therefore, I think financial sector plays a key role in allowing players in the maritime sector to invest in new ships. And last but not least is definitely the availability and affordability of new type of fuel, specifically in Indonesia. So I think for us, we are really committed through our net zero emission pathway. But again, there are some factors that are not controlled by us, and it requires all the commitment from all stakeholders, the regulators in this industry. Pak Firman, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Yoki. So I will give some context for the next speakers. Yeah. So Indonesia is the second biggest producer of seaweed in the world. For tropical seaweed, we are the #1. So, and from seaweed, we can process it into many things. We can replace noodle. We can create noodles. We can create bioplastic, and even we can create biofuel from seaweed. But the problem is the cost of seaweed right now is still very, very high. I'll give you one number. So the cost of seaweed is $1,000 to $2,000 US per ton. If you want to replace wheat, for example, in the noodle, the price of wheat is like $300 per ton. So you need to reduce the cost of seaweed by 30%, 70% basically, right? So why the cost of seaweed is really high? Because it's small scale and we use traditional methods. So if you want to reduce the cost, we need to increase the productivity by using mechanizations, large scale, and using the technology. And C6 Energy is doing it right now in Indonesia. So with the government of Indonesia, we're doing a pilot project, 100 hectares, using technology and mechanization to make sure the productivity is increasing to reduce the cost of seaweed. So I will invite Pak Agus, the CEO of C6 Energy, to share a bit their experience on this seaweed farming. Pak Agus, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Firman, for your time. Actually, Pak Firman actually already conclude my presentation today. Okay, thank you, my honorable Pak Firman and other speakers, and also all all participants on this section. In good time now, I want to explanation a little bit about the how we do accelerating the Indonesian blue economy through seaweed innovation and technology for food, bioplastic, biostimulant, and biocrude oil. Uh, Firstly, background about the blue economy. Blue economy is a concept for the sustainable use of marine resource for economic growth while maintaining the preservation of marine ecosystem. Meaning, we want to optimizing the resource on marine, but we still keep maintaining the ecosystem on the sea. There are three blue economy concept. They are renewable economy, seafood and marine product, offshore engineering. This we need to sustainable all of this concept. C6 Energy is one of innovation company. We are established from India, but now we also have activities in Indonesia. We are one company to have a complete integrated from upstream to downstream activities. In upstreams, we do, like Pak Firman explained before, we do seaweed cultivation large scale. So we want to make a large scale cultivation of seaweed so we can increase the productivity of seaweed. In downstream, we also process the fresh seaweed from our cultivation and also from the farmers. And then we have an innovation to make other product from seaweed that not only for karaginan as currently now. We also make a product for agriculture. We make a bioplastic, biocrude oil, animal feed, and food ingredients, of course. So with these two activities, we can accelerating the blue economy, and also we can accelerating the sustainable development goals from out of 17 SDG of Indonesian SDG. We can, with the seaweed activities, we can accelerating 10 of that. I want to explain first about what our activities in upstream. We name our activities ocean farming. So we do sustainable tropical seaweed cultivation. Currently, we do in Indonesia, in Nusa Tenggara Barat. With sustainable tropical seaweed cultivation, we can reduce the ocean acidification and capture carbon dioxide. With seaweed, we can do also seeding and harvesting all through the years. So with this, we can do farming activities in all through the years. With seaweed also we can absorb excess nutrient being washed off from the land. There are a lot of fertilizer from the land cultivation that are splashed out from the river and goes to the ocean. So seaweed, tropical seaweed can absorb that excess of nutrients. And the last, the important one, seaweed cultivation can provide the sustainable livelihood to rural communities. We have a lot of example for this, like in the all coast in Sulawesi, entity, which is that local communities to farming seaweed. They now growing from the miners areas. Now the economy is growing well. Also, the second generation, like the children of the farm seaweed farm, now already become success people. Some of I have evidence in Bali. They are one of children of the seaweed farmers now become a doctor, and also they can have a good education because of seaweed. So with that, what we do in ocean farming, there are three main what we doing in C6. One, we do mechanization of farming that to improve the productivity and safety. So with introducing the technology on the seaweed farming, we can increase the productivity until 5 times if we compare with the small scale seaweed cultivation. Also, we do regular monitoring of farm and environmental condition, which is with this we can collect the information from the areas what we have, so we can use that to predict it for the future, and also we share it to the farmers, so the farmers can understanding about what the environmental data of their location, like that. And the last one, we want to develop the climate change resistant varieties of seaweed cultivar. So we working together with university and others sector to finding the good seedlings that seedling can be more stronger to prevent the climate change, and also can be growing better in the future. This is some of our activities. We name 1 hour's farm. We name a longline farm. We have a vessel also to do activities, and we have one vessel we name Sea Combine. With this vessel, we can do harvest and seeding in one single time. So the seaweed just only can be processing on the sea, so not need to bringing to the land like now. As this is the graph, basically Pak Firman mentioned before. Actually, we can make a lot of application from seaweed. There are food, there are agri-input, bioplastic, renewable chemical, and biofuel. But currently, with the current price, we only can be applicable to make food ingredient, and also just to agriculture, agri-input. So how to got the biofuel and bioplastic? One solution, we need to improve the productivity, increase the volume of the production. So with that, we hope we can achieve the biofuel and bioplastic in coming year. This is now I want to explain about the downstream processing in our active processing plant. We are located in North Bali currently, so we made currently we made the feedstock for biostimulant and the food application. We planning to we have a technology already to make a bioplastic and biofuel, but with I'm informed before, we need to reduce the cost of seaweed. We hope by next 2 years we can got this application. I want to explain one by one about the innovation on the downstream. One, the food ingredient and feed ingredient. As we know, high quality food ingredient for texturing and viscosity application can got from seaweed based product. Seaweed being rich in fiber and low in calories, so it an excellent ingredient for health and nutrition food. Also, the proprietary of seaweed formulation, which can be incorporated in feed to improve the animal immunity. The next one, the plant biostimulant. We have already sell biostimulant product. We name Agrogain. This already distribute. It already sell to more than 20 countries in all the world. With Agrogain or biostimulant, the plant can be more healthier and also can protect from disease. The most important with plant-based stimulant, we can increase the yield of the plants. From the studies, we got the yield can be improved from 10 until 15% from the control of the plant. So with this, we hope we can improve the productivity of the production of the farm, and then we can make the soil still in a good condition. So they will have a sustainable plantation on the land also. The third is biodegradable plastic. We can make a biodegradable plastic from the seaweed. As we know, seaweed is a very organic product, so it can be easily to degradable and easy to decompose it. Seaweed also has a potential to scale up and provide enough feedstock to match the demand of the single-use plastic. As we know, currently only 5% of the biodegradable plastic used to change the single-use plastic. If we want to increase the use of biodegradable plastic, it needs a lot of stock or a lot of material to make the biodegradable plastic. With seaweed, because we can plant it on the sea, they have unlimited space on the sea. So we hope we can match the demand on to replacing the single-use plastic. And also because of it grown on the sea, we can got the low cost production. So we can it can be alternative material for other application in the future. The last one is the renewable chemical and biofuel. The low cost and scalable feedstock are the key to develop sustainable chemical energy fuel. This feedstock can be converted to sustainable chemical building blocks, which can help us to move away from the fossil-based chemical. There are technology, basically it's not new. There are hydrothermal liquefaction. With this technology, we can make a lot of any kind of the biomass into biocrude oil. So with this technology, we can use seaweed into biofuel in the future. The last one, the conclusion, with our innovation from upstream and downstream, we hope we can accelerating the blue economy more faster than what we planning. Thank you, Pak Firman.
Yeah, thank you, Pak Agus. So from seaweed, I think at least we can solve 3 global problems. The first one is food security. The second one is the plastic waste. And the third one is the energy transitions, right? So, but we need to scale up the productions and we need to reduce the cost by using technology and mechanizations. Thank you all the speakers for very insightful presentations. Now I will invite Q&A sessions. So if there is questions from or comments from the audience, please raise your hands and mention your name. So for the first sessions, I will open for 3 questions. Yeah, Pak Andreas, Miss, and any other? Pak Medril. So, okay. Yes, Miss.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thanks for the presentations. I was very impressed with what's happening. So I'm Julia from the ISO standards group, and I wanted to know to what extent you're using standards in terms of trying to make your processes more efficient. What standards are you using, if any, for both speakers, all speakers? What standards are you using, and how can standards help you in terms of ISO standards for environmental, climate change, marine, that kind of thing? Are you now using standards?
Okay, I think the questions is for Pak Yogi and Pak Agus. So what kind of like ISO standard, yeah, that they're using in terms of this? Maybe I will collect all the questions first. Pak Andreas?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Andreas Sutahayan. I'm from the Coordinating Ministry for Maritime Affairs and Investment. My first question goes to Pertamina, Pak Yoki. I think it's very interesting to see, to hear about your net zero emission target. Just wondering, what is the main challenging to reach this target? And the second is whether you have already a roadmap in achieving this kind of target for the net zero emission target. And my second question goes to the KI regarding the Blue Halo S. How is the involvement of the local community in order to maintain, because you are mentioning about the production and as well as the protection. So what is the role of the local community in this area? And to Bu Deputy, Bu Vivi, how is the blue economy? You already mentioned the blue economy roadmap until 2045. Now it's 2023. So we have FPGM and it's 4 years, it's 5 years in order to reach 2045. So how the synergize between RPJM and in order to guarantee that the blue economy, its roadmap will go smooth, something like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Andreas. Pak Medril.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for very nice presentations. My questions to Bu Mezani from Konservasi Indonesia. You've mentioned that investment or financing is very crucial for this blue economy. And one of the options that we are going to go for is the blue bonds that you mentioned. But as far as I know, the applications of the blue bonds needs to be, well, if you got the bonds, then you have to input that bonds into the big budgets. And then from the big budget, big basket budget, then you redistribute it to something else. In this case, there will be possibility, there will be a kind of blue washings instead of green washings. Blue washings could be happens. So how come then these mechanisms can be avoided? And my second question is related to Pak Yogi. It's great to hear that Pertamina has already had a kind of intentions to do kind of to reduce its net zero emissions from its shipping operations. But as far as I know, policy on bunker fuel in Indonesia is a bit lag behind. And you've mentioned about the regulations, policies, and so on. So how then Pertamina's plans aligning with this kind of the bunker fuel policy, while we don't have it until today, and then how then Pertamina can be aligned this approach for the futures? Perhaps
Thank you,
that's
Pak
my
Medril.
question.
So
Thank you.
I think Pak Yoki, you have 3 questions directed to you. So I'll start with you, Pak Yoki.
Well, thank you so much, Pak. I'm going to answer the number 3 first, Pak. I mean, the challenge on the fuel availability to support our decarbonization plan, the net zero emission pathway in 2060. Yes, as I said, Pak, it's going to be a challenge, right, to fulfill the demand for low carbon fuel or zero carbon fuel in Indonesia particularly. I think there are several action that can be taken. First, definitely as part of the energy company, Pertamina Shipping and the entire ecosystem of Pertamina with the other groups of Pertamina has a clear plan in achieving the net zero emission in our business, particularly Indonesia, which aligned to government net zero emission plan. And therefore, I believe going forward, there will be a serious action by the entire group to produce low carbon fuel or zero carbon fuel, for instance, like ammonia, hydrogen, where there will be a lot of projects going forward. And secondly, I believe the consistency and the commitment from us as a big player in Indonesia to committed to the regulation that's set out by the international regulatory bodies or the national regulation. For instance, like in 2020, the IMO introduced the IMO 2020 to limit the sulfur content. And I think Pertamina is one of the most consistent party that implement the low sulfur fuel oil, right, in Indonesia, despite we know there will be some challenges, right, availability and distribution and consistency from the players in this sector. I think those two actions that can be done to ensure that we can align with our target, Pak. Hopefully that answer. And secondly, on the roadmap, okay. So in terms of the roadmap to achieve the net zero emission, we divide our plan into 3 phases. The first phase is, sorry, I don't have the slide. First phase 1, until 2026, we try to reduce the carbon footprint through the several actions that is taken. First is how we can use the low sulfur fuel, for instance, like B13, low sulfur fuel oil as well, and reduction in fuel consumption through all the initiative that we do. For instance, like we limit the speed of our operation based on the economical fuel consumption to ensure that we limit the consumption of the fuel. And secondly, we regularly clean the hull of the ships. There are more than 600 ships in domestically. And if one of the biggest contributor to the high consumption of the fuel is the hull condition. If the hull is dirty, then there will be a lot of friction that will affect the consumption of the fuel. And in 2024, we already set a program where there will be a continuous checking and regular cleaning to our hull of the ships. And last but not least is optimize the route in order to ensure that we got the optimal routing for the ships that we operate. And the second phase is from 26 until 2040, the focus will be on the low carbon. Low carbon meaning that we try to introduce new type of fuel, for instance, like LNG powered vessels, or at least the LPG powered vessels, and also eco-friendly ship designs. We know that it will take some time for us to rejuvenate the entire ships that we currently own or operated, but over the time, since we are very committed to replace all the conventional type of ships with the latest technology, hopefully it will reduce the total amount of fuel will be burned. And last but not least, the latest phase, 2040 up to 2060, there will be much more advanced type of fuel will be used by us, and definitely, hopefully, hydrogen will be much more available and affordable, definitely by 2060, and some other type of fuel, for instance, like green ammonia as well. That will be our staging when it comes to net zero emission by Pertamina International Shipping. And to answer the first one on the ISO standard. Well, I can say that since many years that Pertamina has been used ISO as one of the standard in our business, in our operation. The most prominent one is the ISO 9000 and ISO 14000, if I'm not mistaken. But definitely, not only ISO, it is not only ISO that is used as our reference, right? To ensure that we have a clear pathway for the net zero emission. There are a lot of regulation by the International Maritime Organization and Classification Society that will be used as a guidance for us as a player in the shipping sectors. I hope that answer. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. So I know Bu Mezani has to leave now, so I'll give the opportunity Bu Mezani to answer. Very short, Bu. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Deputy. Thank you, Pak Andreas and Pak Mendril. Just to answer the first question around communities. This is really the key to any successful activities, both in protection and production aspects. So at the moment, we've been having different focus groups discussion and socializations with all the different areas. So within the first pilot area, it will consist of 6 provinces. So that's going to be quite a lot. And the first, this is why the first launch would be the grant facility. So the grant facility will then be able to invest in enabling conditions for the communities and also local fishers, and ensuring also safeguards for that transition into the quota-based fisheries. But the most important piece is how they can be integrated in these different types of blue economy. So not just nearshore fishing, but maybe tourism, or maybe creation of value-add activities, not just in the ocean, but in the coastal areas as well. The other question around the process of the blue bond, that's a very important question, Pak Mendril. Thank you for raising that, because one of the key aspects of ensuring that any financing facility gets to the heart of the impact. Basically, the idea is what Indonesia wants and what the communities and the country wants is the impact target, right? Whether it's from the side of the climate, the protection, but also on the side of the economic livelihood. So one of the key aspects of the design phase of this facility, because the grant facility will be launched first, and then the blue facility, the blue financing facility, is the next one. The focus is on the use of proceeds. So what are the use of proceeds that align with international standards as well as Indonesia's strategic interests for the future? And this is one of the key aspects also that during the discussions we've had with different financial players in Indonesia, whether it's state-owned or also the Ministry of Finance, is what are the blue sectors that can be benefiting from this financing facility, because pipeline development is the hardest. You know, people have a lot of funding commitments, but how does that translate into the projects on the ground? So that's really key. The first is identification and alignment with standards. The other piece will be around transparency. So data transparency, not only having the use of proceeds in the forefront, but also the transparency over time and how to monitor. And I think one of the key aspects that's exciting for us and for the community is also the fact that Indonesia is the government is taking a very active role in doing adaptive management. So you have the strategy, but also you have you will look and monitor and reflect and also adapt. And so that piece around the safeguards and transparency is the second most important thing together in the design phase of these facilities. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bu Zani. I think you can leave. Send our regards to King of Jordan. Thank you. So for Bu Vivi, so I invite you to answer the questions.
Thank you for the questions. I think we are all aware that the global situation is not in a good conditions. Besides some challenges that we face, like the technology, investment, as well as helping people to be inclusive in the transitions, in the blue as well as in the green transitions. We are also facing, I think many countries also facing what we call as a triple planetary crisis. The climate change, the pollutions, including in the oceans, as well as the loss of the biodiversity. So as we are also aware that the source is always limited, put it into the planning document, and we have a clear vision about what we are headed within the next 20 years. It's really helped us, not only the government, but also all of us, to prioritize and put the targets. And for the midterm development plan, which is along the line with the SDGs, the 2030 agenda, I think it's provide a platform for all of us to collaborations. So whatever we are, whoever we are, and whatever we do, as long as we put into the context of the sustainability, I think we'll be recognized, acknowledged that we do something for the global. For example, in the current midterm development plan, we put at least 124 targets out of 169 sustainability target into midterm development plan, then we could prioritize in terms of the funding as well as the projects. And I think like not only the SDGs and the net zero emissions, we also put all the commitments, the global commitments like the IMO. By 2030, we have to reduce the emission by 40%. But then the problem is how to do it, whether it is the role of the Pertamina alone or all of us. So I think within the next 5 years, the form of the collaborations, like Alfredo mentions, all of us have somehow contributions. But then again, I think it's really depend on us and the agenda to achieve it.
Thank you, Bu Vivi. So before I give the opportunity to Alfredo, I will give opportunity to Pak Agus to answer about the ISO standard.
Okay, thank you for answering the question about our standards. In our seaweed cultivation, we have a national standard. Indonesia already have a national standard. It named Good Aquaculture Practices. So we're following that. In seaweed processing, there are also a standard in Indonesia that good manufacture practices and also HACCP, that HACCP standard. That three standard what we use to our operation in Indonesia.
Thank you, Pak Agus. Alfredo.
Thank you. Going back a little bit to the green shipping and in general to how do these industry transformations happen. Well, specifically in this case, there's a few challenges, right? There's the challenge on the fuel supply, there's the challenge on the infrastructure, and there's the challenge on the pricing. And I think that from a fuel, no, there's a few more, but from a fuel supply perspective, I think there's a lot of initiatives right now trying to make the matchmaking, and the Aspen Institute is just trying to create this demand, aggregated demand at a global level. But I think it still is leaving out the question of the infrastructure and the production in itself. So that's one piece. How do we match make that supply and demand in a way that actually makes sense from an infrastructure and a supply perspective? The second thing is, how do we think about the routes that are going to be able to enable these things? And we have heard a lot about green corridors in the last few years. I think we are a little far away still from making them effective for all the trading needs that we have. Nonetheless, I think there's a lot happening in that space, and there's going to be new solutions that emerge when we think about it. And then the third part, I forgot. What was I talking about? And then the price, of course. Thank you. And then the price, I think here is where we need to start thinking about scaling up innovations like the one that are happening here, and really start thinking about how do we aggregate demand in a way that sends the right signals so that the producers can start being a little more daring in how they scale up the production. So that's one thing. But the other part on the price is also, and this is a challenge to many governments, right? How many subsidies do we have for current technologies? Can we redirect some of that to the sustainable technologies, to the sustainable options? And I know that is not a straightforward policy question. Nonetheless, it's one that we should be asking. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alfredo. So unfortunately, we have reached the end of our sessions. So hopefully that you all can get clear pictures how the progress that we made in terms of the blue economy. So as mentioned by all the speakers, we have a clear plan from Brapenas, and we built partnerships with the international partners and also domestic partners, and we create actions through our business sectors. But we still have a lot of work to be done. So we should work together and make sure that the oceans become priority in the world and also Indonesia. Thank you again for all the speakers and for the participants. Good afternoon.